In Monterrey, Mexico, 8 nations begin their journey in the Concacaf W Championship. Over the next few weeks, we'll learn which of these teams will qualify for next year's World Cup, as well as the 2024 Paris Olympics and inaugural Gold Cup competition. Les Rouges kick off their tournament against the Soca Warriors. Canada has never lost to Trinidad and Tobago in their previous 8 meetings, and the reigning Olympic champions plan on keeping that streak alive. We're taking you inside Estadio BBVA right here on One Soccer. Hello, everyone, and welcome inside our One Soccer studio. You're watching the Concacaf W Championship with yours truly, Andy Petrillo, alongside our senior analyst, Oliver Platt, and our very special guest analyst, 2-time Olympic medalist, and she represented Canada at 1, 2, 3, 4 World Cups. Midfielder Diana Matheson, really pleased to have you along for the ride. You'll be covering the tournament with us, and I know you've been a part of a lot of qualifying games for the country, but this year, this is new. This format is different. You see, in the past, the Olympic qualifiers stood on their own, and World Cup qualifiers took place over a few months. This year, they've been condensed. Here's how it works and what's on the line. Let's take a look at Canada's group, because here's the thing. The top 2 teams in each group directly qualify for the 2023 World Cup. The 2 third-place teams will play in an interconfederation playoff for the other spot. Now, the winner of the entire tournament qualifies directly to the 2024 Olympics, while the 2nd and 3rd place teams still have a chance. They play in a playoff match to earn the final spot. And finally, also up for grabs is a spot in the first ever Women's Gold Cup tournament. The men have been competing for this trophy since 1991. And finally, the women get to do so as well beginning in 2024. All right, to the pro we go. How are you feeling about this new format? Yeah, I'm with you. Thanks for that description. I've been figuring out how the new tournament works too. I think I like it. The Olympic qualifying used to be in the past. One team qualified. The 2 teams in the final qualified. So it came down to 1 game against a team you typically should beat. And it was literally the most stressful tournament of the 4-year cycle. Bundling it into this tournament, I think, takes a little bit of that pressure off. So I think as a player, I would like it. That said, Canada will be all in to try and take that 1 spot and the World Cup qualifying. Yeah, I remember you said that to me, because I thought, would this one be more stressful because the winner, gets to go directly to the Olympics? But I guess you're right. Before, it was the semifinal. And if you didn't win that, if you didn't make it to the final, that was it. Here, not that you want Canada to lose, but if they do, if they finish 2nd or 3rd, they have another chance, right? There's a little bit of that other chance that can happen here with this new format. But Canada, of course, coming out of the gate swinging here as we take a look at their starting 11. This is a top lineup here, and right smack in the middle, the name that catches everyone's attention, of course, is Christine St. Clair. She did not play in that final tune-up game on June 26. She was dealing with an injury. How much of a relief is it, Ollie, to see that not only is she ready to go, but she's in the starting 11? Yeah, great to see her in the starting 11. Hasn't played in about a month, but she looked pretty good when she did last play. 3 goals in her last 2 games in the NWSL. So that's a big relief for Canada to have her healthy and ready to go. And on paper tonight, this is Canada's easiest game, right? So you would think that if there was any kind of risk or worry with Christine Sinclair, they'd take it easy with her. Not the case. They're putting her straight back in the starting lineup, and that is a really strong team. I thought they might rotate a little bit tonight with an eye to Panama and Costa Rica, but that, I think, Diana, is about as strong as an 11 as Bev Priestman can pick. Yeah, it looks she's coming out strong in this opening game. I think she said it. She's trying to build a bit more chemistry in this group. I think, that was something we didn't see a lot in the Korea game. They've been together a week longer now. They're going to be a bit stronger in those partnerships on the field. So I think she's coming out firing. Goal difference is important in this tournament. Will Sinky get 90? Probably not. They're probably still going to manage, the injury she's coming back from. But I think this is all about getting Canada firing as soon as possible. That's it. Just scoring a few goals tonight would do Canada a world of good, right? All the questions that are being asked, do they score enough? Are they going to be able to break down teams like this? Getting off to a nice quick start would be good for the team. Last time they played Trinidad and Tobago, they beat them 6-0. So yes, perhaps getting a few goals here will give that offense the confidence that it needs. But let's go to the other end and let's talk about the goalkeeping, because Canada's new #1 goalkeeper, Kaylin Sheridan. Patience has been a virtue for her. She made her senior team debut in 2016, but still ahead of her on that depth chart, Erin McLeod, Stephanie Labbe. And during that time, she was improving at the pro level. And finally, 6 years later, at the national level, the net is hers.
I think we have a lot of confidence going in, but we also know that the world kind of still underestimates us, and we're just excited to get back out there and and really gel as a team again and prove everybody wrong again. Honestly, we love that people underestimate us. It's something that we have never done, so we're going to have to do a lot of things differently and check off a lot of boxes we've never checked off before, and we're starting that already. A lot of things off the field and on the field. But Bev's challenging us at every corner to really push our own limits individually and within groups and then as a team. And I think if we can get all those different things, we'll be able to see a shift so that we can push to the top. The World Cup is just a longer tournament, and it's going to require a little bit more. I think it's a great opportunity for me. I think we already have a competitive environment. So I'm just really excited. I know that I've been working towards this for so long, and I've always been ready. I won't change anything that I've been doing, but I'm excited to step in and get more opportunities. We do miss them, but we're proud of the group that we have in right now. It's not an in-the-moment thing. I think it's years and years of work off the field with sports psychs and mental performance coaches and just experience. I think you're doing something wrong if you're not having those feelings, and it's super normal. So I think it's just the constant work off the field with the professionals who can help us kind of handle those situations, and then just understanding that it's an opportunity to learn and become better, and taking those moments for what they are, and it's just an opportunity to make yourself one step better and 1% better every day.
Element of surprise has got it, set it, and a goal! And they get their second here again from Becky. Drifting was Buchanan. Heidema first touch, and it's Vanessa Shield to clean it up, and Canada does get their second goal. 188 for Canada's captain. The Canadian patience, the relentlessness is rewarded.
We have such a gritty and powerful back line and defensive unit, and we want to maintain that, but we don't want to just stay where we're at. We always want to take the next step, and as much as we're developing our front line, other countries are too, so we have to be ready and keep up with that and make sure we're always one step ahead defensively. It's amazing having a line in front of you that you just absolutely trust and kind of can understand what they're thinking and what they're seeing, and they can understand what you're thinking and seeing, and they just have the experience that you dream of playing with. Yeah, it's massive, and I think the experience comes with making mistakes and going through trials and playing against really tough opposition, and again, making those mistakes and then fixing them and being able to see it pay off in another game. And we see it pay off in the final of the Olympics, and that's part of the reason we ended up on top, is that back line was strong, and it really kept us in the whole tournament. So it's something that I can learn from and I can bring home and I can continue to work on for myself as well.
Kaylin Sheridan started off playing for Sky Blue FC, now called Gotham FC, out of New Jersey, where she became a two-time finalist for Goalkeeper of the Year, and in 2020 was awarded the Golden Glove at the Challenger Cup. So when it comes to the professional level, she's already established quite a name for herself. She's built up some of those accolades, Dee, but now we're really seeing this net for the first time be hers with the national team. How does the pressure change?
Yeah, it changes a bit, doesn't it? Especially going into a qualification tournament. But honestly, I think Kaylin Sheridan's biggest knock against her is that she just hasn't done it yet. Canada has always had, 2, 3 goalkeepers that are world class that could be starting, and Kaylin's just been a victim of that more than anything. She's a leader in this team already. She's a leader in her professional club. She was the best player for New Jersey in the NWSL for years, so she's done it already on the professional level. And, it might be a few games where maybe she's looking a bit nervous, but she might, ease into it pretty quickly here because she's already a seasoned veteran in the game.
Yeah, and you wonder how much she just feels like, okay, this is mine. Obviously, it's great, the goalkeepers that have been ahead of her, you've said it. We've had quite the history, Karina LeBlanc, Erin McLeod, Steph LeBay, who just retired. We thought this net was going to be Kaylin Sheridan. Steph LeBay won it back before the Olympics, but you wonder now with her retirement, you know, does that kind of give the little push too that Sheridan needs?
Maybe it helps in a way, just that you don't feel like you have someone breathing down your neck quite so much, right? And look, Kaylin Sheridan is not an unproven goalkeeper in any way. She's played over 100 club games. We saw the resume there. The only question is, when you put on that maple leaf, does it feel a bit heavier than club football, right? And the weight of that expectation. And we know, you know, as much as an outfield player, that's relevant for them as well. If you're a goalkeeper and you're feeling the pressure and you're feeling a bit nervous, that can really cost your team in a way that's not the case for a midfielder or a forward, right? So that's the only question with Kaylin Sheridan. But like sitting down with her there, she was upbeat, positive, confident. She's ready, I think.
She is ready, and the team is getting ready as the Canadians begin their tournament, taking on Trinidad and Tobago. The Canadians 8-0 against their opponent, outscoring them 34-0. Up next, former national team captain and Hall of Famer Amy Walsh checks in to talk the state of the women's game. Stay with us here on One Soccer.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me this.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
To play. It's something that's in us from the very beginning, and something we take with us on every step of the journey. When we have no words, it gives us a way to speak. When we are still finding our way in the world, it gives us somewhere to belong. And no matter who we are or where we come from, it gives us the right to dream.
Christine Sinclair, as she scores at her 5th World Cup. Alfonso Davies!
It's time to celebrate the game we love. It's time to play.
Yes, we're happy to have one of Canada's all-time greats in studio with us throughout the W Championship as the next generation of Canadian women push the program forward. But we know the program wouldn't be where it is without Diana Matheson, a two-time Olympic bronze medal winner who appeared more than 200 times for her country before retiring from international football in 2020. Okay, so we've been told it's Oakville, Ontario, right? Yeah.
That's correct.
Hometown.
It's not the first time, probably won't be the last time, but it is Oakville, Ontario. Shout out Oakville.
There you go. I'm going to give you that shout out. And shout out to our girl Amy Walsh, who's joining us here via the wonderful technology of Zoom, former captain of the Canadian women's national team. She's a Canadian Soccer Hall of Famer. And we've had you on before. Always appreciate your insight. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the state of the women's game, beginning with the NWSL, which formed in 2013. And we've really seen it grow, Amy. We've seen more teams get added for the first time ever this year. They have a collective bargaining agreement. We've seen the floor of the salary go up as well. What has it meant to you just to see how that league has grown?
Well, I think it means a lot for North American soccer and the growth, and we can maybe see what's possible here in Canada. And I think we'll get into that a little bit later, but I think it's investors really waking up to the potential that is in the women's game. So they have this historic CBA, and then right on the coattails of that is the historic CBA for the women's national team that they do, or in lockstep with the men. and they will pool the FIFA monies. And so that sort of sets a standard worldwide. And now you see the NWSL sort of cleaning house, making sure that their players are taken care of. They have support, whether it's for physio, whether it's for childcare, and you see sort of the culture shifting and the culture of abuse that has also existed, and they've shone the light on that. And so hopefully they're getting rid of that. But then with the addition of these 2 new franchises for 2024, sort of an open secret in the league is that the Utah franchise will come back. And then there's one other one, but apparently investors are clamoring to be a part of this league. And you see the success with Angel City FC and that investors group, San Diego Wave. So you just see the potential of growth, not only for women's soccer, but what the NWSL sort of stands for. And I think that Canada could do well to sort of get behind that. But I think it's a league now that's showing it needs to compete for players, for that player pool and the world's best with Europe and in sort of the top 5 leagues elsewhere in the world.
Yeah, we're going to get into investment in just a moment. And you're right, a lot of Canadians playing NWSL as well in Europe. Kadisha Buchanan, the latest to make that move on over to Chelsea. But let's first begin with how we can see the game grow in Canada. What's best for Canada soccer here for the women? Do you want to see the NWSL expand with a Canadian team, or should the priority still be a domestic league?
Yeah, I know that's a question that comes up a lot, I think, in soccer circles. I think for me what's important is what's the goal? Is the goal to see soccer grow in Canada? Is the goal for women's soccer in Canada to be world class? I think we'd probably say yes. I think the soccer viewers tuning in would say yes. Canada women's soccer is world class, and that should be the goal, to make sure it continues to be world class. So if that's the goal and how we frame things, then I think if we break it down in terms of what's going to have the largest impact on players, what's going to have the largest impact on Canadian coaches, Canadian referees, what's going to impact player development across the country, fans across the country, infrastructure across the country, in perhaps 8 markets across the country rather than just 1 or 2. And I think the answer is a league. It has the impact that can continue to impact all these things. And then the other point for me, I think, is, as Canadians, we always look to the US. We have this, we hate to say it, we have this inferiority complex where we're always comparing ourselves to them. But let's step out of that for a second. Let's compare ourselves to the rest of the world. Women's soccer, globally, where are we at? Canada has the population and the fans to support a league. I mean, the fans in Canada have been following the national team for 10 years now, right? It's a recognizable Canadian product. So I think we have the fans here, especially when you compare it to maybe a Spain and a Mexico. I don't think you could have said that before the league started. Player pool, we know we have that. We know we have some of the best players in the world. Pre-pandemic, Ontario had more registered girls and women than the country of Spain does. Quebec has more registered girls and women than Mexico does. And these are the countries where we're looking at leagues and we're saying, great job, incredible. Imagine if we did that in Canada, And then people talk about the size of the country, definitely a challenge. We should find solutions for that. But we've got great cities. I mean, Winnipeg's the size of Portland. Ottawa is the size of DC. We have all the building blocks there. There's nothing holding us back. I think Amy said right at the beginning there's something about trying to compete. I want to compete.
Yeah.
Canada can compete at the world stage. This Olympic team has shown us that, and they're hungry to prove it again. I love that attitude.
And let me ask you this, and I want to get both of you. No, I love that. I could listen forever. Unfortunately, we got time constraints on TV, but we'll do an after show, just online only. But let me ask you this, and I want to get your thoughts on it too, Amy. What happens when you do hear people say, but there are no investors, there's no appetite for it? What's your response to that?
Probably the same as you, bit of an eye roll. I think, right, it's a business, right? I think it's important you have someone selling it who's passionate about it, who understands women's football and understands the business plan behind it. I think when we have that in Canada, there won't be a problem. And then interest from the fans, I mean, there's got to be a little bit of if you build it, they will come, because we're not going to prove the case for women's pro soccer in Canada until we build it.
Yeah. Amy, word goes to you. The final word there.
I just wanted to jump off a couple things that Dee was saying there. So the national team support exists for this team. We know that. And the success has been there. The men have followed suit only very, very recently. So how can you translate that national team support into a tangible investment and sort of jumping off point into a domestic pro league. I think that you can do that. As Dee alluded to, all of that is there. And the competition standpoint, Dee was saying you want to compete, and Canada can, but for how long? I've harped on this for a really long time now, but if Canada doesn't get moving on this domestic pro league, it's not going to happen tomorrow if we find investors. It's going to take time. But that player pool that Dee was talking to there, that she was alluding to, it does exist. But how do you continue to foster that development if there's nowhere for these women to play? So you need to create that domestic league in lieu of that single franchise, that lone franchise, perhaps that might happen in 2 or 3 years, because you need the infrastructure. You need to create a place for them to play so that they don't have to be outsourced to other countries, or they don't have to stop altogether playing soccer. So we can get more Vanessa Gilles on this national team, so we don't keep losing those players in their mid-20s after their university career.
No, it's very true. And hey, listen, you want to talk about interest, all you have to do is look at Spain this year in the Women's Champions League, where they set a record just over 91,000 at Camp Nou. They typically play in a 6,000-seat stadium, but there was such a demand for tickets. Over 91,000 demand for tickets. We have more coming up. Amy Walsh is going to check in with us a little later on in the show, so we're going to keep her around. Stay with us as we are getting set for Canada to take on Trinidad and Tobago.
Welcome to Allstate. Here, we know you have a few reasons to slow down. But we've got one more. Safe drivers save 30% with DriveWise. The safer you drive, the more you save with Allstate. Click or call for a quote today.
A new era for Canadian soccer begins today. Experience the emotion of every match. Watch all the highlights, the breaking news, the best debates, and analysis. And all the information about the Canadian stars playing abroad. Get access to the best of Canadian soccer from any device. Join the new dawn of an unstoppable game. See the rise on onesoccer.ca.
The Summer of Soccer has a sensational lineup. Beginning July 4th, Canada's women's national team looks to qualify for the 2024 Olympics. The 2022 Canadian Championship Final will determine who will lift the coveted Voyageurs Cup, while the Canadian Premier League continues its march towards October's playoffs. All this as Canada's men's national team continues preparation for the World Cup in Qatar. This summer, one channel, one soccer.
There is something quite magical about heading into a new destination. A journey into the unknown. Not alone, but together, as a country, as a sport, ready to soar. We are Canada, and this is our sport. This is our time.
We're used to labels. Apologetic. Sweet. Pushovers.
1, 2, 3, bang!
But screw labels. No more being polite. No more sugarcoating. Because we're labelless and limitless. Oat Canada, the official plant protein partner of Canada's soccer.
The Concacaf W Championship actually began yesterday. The United States taking on Haiti. Let's bring you those highlights now. 16th minute, Alex Morgan doing what Alex Morgan does, score. So she opens up the scoring here for the United States, 1-0. She's not done. 7 minutes later, Morgan will find the back of the net again. So she opens up her tournament with a nice brace. Nobody is shocked by that one. In the 84th minute, they add to it. Margaret Purse will make it 3-0 USA. So they open up their tournament with a win over Haiti. Next up, it will be the host nation of this tournament. Oh, first up, there you go. There are your full-time stats. So 69% possession for the Americans. We're going to discuss the shots by Haiti, though, in just a moment because they still managed 7, 2 of them on target. So, yes, you can see the goals, but defensively, we'll discuss, how the Americans themselves were not too pleased with that performance. Host nation Mexico now taking on Jamaica. And a bit of a shocker here. This was early on, 8th minute. Khadija Shah will score from a set piece. So it's actually Jamaica who takes the 1-0 lead. You think 8th minute, plenty of time for the Mexicans to get back in this one. Brilliant ball into the box from Denisha Blackwood. But no, they would not find an equalizer. They would not find a go-ahead. This one would hold up as the winner. So a bit of a shocker here as the Jamaicans beat Mexico 1-0 in their opening match, despite having just 34% possession. But once again, you just take a look at the shots, 13-12, so pretty tight there. The Jamaicans seem to have been in this fight all along, and they walk away with the full 3 points. What does that mean for Canada? We'll get to those implications in just a moment. This game just wrapping up, Costa Rica versus Panama. Costa Rica, 6-minute Rodriguez corner kick puts them up 1-0. They're not done there. 24th minute, Paula Salas, open play in the box. She makes it 2-0. And then some stuff going inside the penalty area there. VAR got involved here. So Castillo foul in the box. Costa Rica is awarded the penalty kick in the 60th minute. Alvarado makes no mistake. 3-0 Costa Rica over Panama. There are your full-time stats in this one. So that's how the opening games have gone. We're getting set for Canada, Trinidad, and Tobago. But first, let's begin with Mexico as we welcome you back inside our One Soccer studio. Andy, Diana, and Ollie with you. Is that a bit of a surprise to see Jamaica beat Mexico?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say that's an upset, especially at home. And I know we've been talking the Pro League angle, and I saw a few articles around Mexico and could they upset this tournament given the success of their league so far. I think realistically their league's 3 years old, so the impact on that whole development system, I mean, that takes a few cycles, probably around the 6 to 10 year mark. Are you really seeing the players that come up and benefit through the system? So no impact from the Pro League yet, but I think that's fair and, yeah, upset, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing it's important to note as well is that Jamaica have improved as well because they've done what their men's team did, which is recruit a few English dual nationals, including Drew Spence, who's obviously been at Chelsea for a long time and has just joined Tottenham. So that's an improving team too. We already knew that Khadija Shaw was a world-class player. It's a massive, massive result for the tournament because Mexico is now at risk of missing the World Cup. Jamaica and USA obviously in pole position to finish top 2 in that group. And then that likely means that if Canada can do the business they're expected to do in their group, they would probably face Jamaica in the semi-final rather than Mexico. So big implications for Canada as well.
Now, USA, as I mentioned, when you look at the scoreline, you see 3-0. All right. I mean, easy breezy start for them. But there was a lot of talk about how defensively not happy whatsoever.
Is it too early to start questioning the Americans? I don't think so, right? Defensively, it was just a little bit not as solid as you'd like to see from the US. And it's a team that is going through some changes right now. It doesn't look a lot like the team that Canada faced at the Olympics. Obviously, there's some big players there, Sauerbrunn, Morgan, Horan, who are still in the team. But there has been some changes as well. And Haiti could have taken the leads. They missed a penalty, put a penalty against the post. That was not as straightforward, I don't think, as maybe the highlights showed.
Yeah, and I think those, especially in the youth game, like Rian Wilkinson, who is coaching the U20 Canadian team, they're very familiar with Haiti, as Haiti's been doing very well at the youth level for a while, and they have a couple world-class players. Mondesir and Duvernay, they both play in France. And I mean, Rian said when those players were on at the youth level, they would just dominate the games. And Haiti beat Canada at those levels quite a number of times. So I don't think it's a shock to anyone that they're now starting to do a bit better at the women's level.
And it's an unbelievably young senior team, by the way, as well. They've got like 14 players born 2001 or later, so incredibly young team, and they're providing a bit of spark.
And suddenly we feel very old. Thank you very much, Ollie. All right, well, when we return, the sky's the limit for midfielder Jessie Fleming. Late last month, she reached 100 caps for country. Coach Priestman and teammate Janine Becky sing the praises of a player who became a star before our very eyes. That feature next on One Soccer.
We call it the beautiful game, where artistry leaves you in awe, mixed with emotion that grips the soul. We are witness to beautiful goals, where unbelievable cannot begin to describe what we just saw. It is where pride comes to life on the pitch. Respect has been earned. This is where one game is found on One Soccer.
A lot has changed since you got your last perfect vehicle. You met someone. You got a dog. Your best friend met someone too. You got new interests. A new hobby. You felt a little more adventurous. You found a bigger hobby. You explored a little more. You needed a vehicle that reflected the new you. You found it. The all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Your new perfect.
Welcome to Allstate. Here, we know you have a few reasons to slow down. But we've got one more. Safe drivers save 30% with DriveWise. The safer you drive, the more you save with Allstate. Click or call for a quote today.
A new era for Canadian soccer begins today. Experience the emotion of every match. Watch all the highlights, the breaking news, the best debates, and analysis. And all the information about the Canadian stars playing abroad. Get access to the best of Canadian soccer from any device. Join the new dawn of an unstoppable game. See the rise on onesoccer.ca.
In 2008, Canada's women have finished second behind the Americans at Concacaf's quadrennial qualifying tournament. And although Canada did force extra time in 08, the Americans have been in full control of every qualifying event for more than a decade. Les Rouges have been outscored 9-0 since 2012, and despite qualifying for every World Cup and Olympic Games along the way, are still looking to knock the Americans off that Concacaf pedestal. Does it begin at this Concacaf W Championship? Well, she was just 15 years old when she made her senior team debut. Yes, Jessie Fleming. At the time, she became the second youngest ever player to play for the national team. And time sure does fly by, because on June 26, she reached the century mark. And before playing in her 100th game, One Soccer caught up with the once rookie who is now a team leader.
Jessie's at the best I've ever seen her now, and I think that comes through confidence. I think it comes through maturity. And she went through a difficult time, you know, when she first moved to Chelsea. She's been a player that's come in this team very, very young and had everything quite early. To get that setback, to see her resilience and her mindset to go and push and be the player she is now, and phenomenally just wants to get better and better. Every minute matters on the pitch for her. That 100 cap is quite unique really at that age, and she's become a leader in the group. She's in the captain's group and leading on and off the pitch, so a massive part of this team moving forward.
I think when people see her performance at the Olympics, I know for myself I wasn't surprised by that, because she's just such a warrior in her mind, in the sense of, you know, you don't see a lot of it outwardly, but you know, I know because I'm so close with her, what goes on in her mind and how competitive she is. And so for her to, you know, be cold as ice on those penalties, so many penalties last summer, that you could probably boil down a lot of the reason as to why we won the gold medal. She plays a massive role on this team. You know, I think a lot of it goes unnoticed, the defensive work that she does. She's by far the fittest person on the team, could literally run probably for 3 90-minute games back to back and not even look like she's tired. So for her to reach this achievement, I don't think anyone's surprised that she's here this young, but I definitely think it deserves a lot of recognition that she's been able to do what she has at her age, and been such an integral part of the team since she joined. So we're excited to celebrate her.
I feel like I'm excited every time I get to step on the pitch for Canada. I'm trying not to overthink it or kind of read too much into it. I think in some ways it's just a number. I still feel really hungry to improve and keep finding kind of the little nuggets that I think I can add to my game. And I know I'll continue to be pushed by my teammates here, and same goes for when I go back to Chelsea. So yeah, for me, I definitely don't feel done by any means, and I feel the same way about our team here. I know, you know, what we accomplished in Tokyo was incredible, but I feel like there's a feeling in the group that we still have another level, and I think a lot of people are hungry to find it and yeah, keep pushing each other. So yeah, I think it applies to me as an individual and the group, which I think is exciting for the program.
Her move to Chelsea has been nothing but positive for her. She absolutely dominated the league this year. You can see it in her day-to-day. Her game is just continuing to get better and better. She's more and more confident. I think, you know, it's cliche to say the sky's the limit for her, but it really is. She could be, you know, the best player in the world if that's her desire, and we're really grateful that we have her on this team.
It's scary. It actually is scary. You know, I worked with her recently in Vancouver for 5 days one-on-one, and I've never worked with a player so motivated, analyses everything, every detail, a perfectionist. But I think now she's got that mental resilience to move past a mistake in the game to then bring exactly what she can bring. So, yeah, the sky's the limit for Jessie, but I think, yeah, it'll be special to get that 100 cap.
Well, let's bring Amy Walsh back into the conversation here. And do you see any of Diana Matheson in Jessie Fleming here? Is this the heir apparent to the person who controls the ball in that midfield?
Well, those are big shoes to fill, or actually not so big shoes, but you know what I'm saying with the expression.
We're waiting for it. We're waiting for it.
Yeah. I decided to get it out of the way right off the top. But I loved what she was saying about finding the little nuggets, because they're both little nuggets. And but like
keep going.
Physically, Jessie Fleming for me has always evoked Regan Wilkinson. Just in her coloring and her rosy cheeks and her freckles and her hair. But her play is very much modeled after the iconic Diana Matheson. So the way that she's that tireless box-to-box midfielder, she's technically gifted, high energy, great leader, even at a young age, that was Dee. And I'm not going to reveal my age here to all the people watching, but I'm older than Dee. And when she came in and she was younger, she was instantly that player that people look to. So an uncanny ability to win the ball and then keep it because she was technically adept. And what I really love about Jessie Fleming that really makes me think about Dee is her impeccable timing. So I think she's highly underrated as a defensive player in the pockets of space that she finds in the attack, but also the way that she's able to insulate other midfielders, but also her back line. And Dee was very much that. So you'll see in games, coming up perhaps tonight, but and against top tier opponents, the ability to tackle cleanly and with perfect timing. And that was very much Diana Matheson. Also, incredibly dry wit, fiercely loyal, and a fabulous teammate. So I see that. I don't know Jessie, but I see echoes of Dee certainly in what Jessie Fleming brings to this group.
Okay, counterpoint. Yeah, I think
you don't get one.
Oh no. Okay, I'll say what I wish I had more of out of Jessie Fleming is her ability to live on the ball. I think she's Jessie's like no other player, I think, that has played for Canada before, and she's always had that. I can remember I came in with Carmelina Moscato into a U17 camp when John was still the coach. He brought us in as mentors, and Jessie was there, and she blew our mind then. And I was tasked to give her feedback after that camp, and I just said, keep doing you. You're gonna play for Canada for many, many years, and I can't wait to watch. There's been no one else like her, and it's gonna be really exciting to see what she does with the next 100 games.
Yeah, and you know what I also love, though, as we're comparing the two of you, is that you've both had also your special Olympic moment. I mean, she just had it in Tokyo with scoring those penalty kicks, and we know the incredible moment that you obviously had in London in 2012 and getting the game winner to secure that bronze medal for Canada. So I do love that the paths are crossing there. I do love that. Ollie, you got a question for Amy?
I got a question for Amy. Amy, this is a pretty familiar starting lineup, obviously, tonight, but if I can put you on the spot, between tonight and next summer's World Cup, if you're looking at one breakout player for Canada that you think can stake their claim to be in this starting lineup for Bev Priestman, who have you got?
Well, she actually doesn't feature in this starting 11, and that's Nichelle Prince. I think that her form, her club form, what she's been able to do for Houston, I don't think she's creating more chances for herself, but it's been her clinical ability to finish them that has really sort of separated her from the pack, and she's in with the elite now in the NWSL. I also really like Chloe Lacasse and the different kind of dimension that she brings to the front runners for Canada. She has elements to her game, ability to sort of maneuver out of tight pockets and combine with other players on the pitch. She certainly brings something that other players do not, but I like Nichelle Prince. I think that she's ready for and poised for a breakout year for Canada.
Well, we'll see definitely if there's definitely some opportunities here for players to break out, and we know we're going to be keeping our eye on players other than Christine St. Clair who can score, right? That seems to be the biggest topic of conversation around this team. And they're speaking of one, Adriana Leon, as we know, she's been a starter in their last few friendlies, not getting the start here tonight. But Canada having some weapons that can come off the bench as impact players here against Trinidad and Tobago. We're getting closer to kickoff in Monterrey, Mexico. Stay with us here on One Soccer.
Canada's women's national team is brought to you by the Toyota Corolla family. Hatchback, sedan, and hybrid.
A lot has changed since you got your last perfect vehicle. You met someone. You got a dog. Your best friend met someone too. You got new interests. A new hobby. You felt a little more adventurous. You found a bigger hobby. You explored a little more. You needed a vehicle that reflected the new you. You found it. The all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Your new perfect.
A new era for Canadian soccer begins today. Experience the emotion of every match. Watch all the highlights, the breaking news, the best debates, and analysis. And all the information about the Canadian stars playing abroad. Get access to the best of Canadian soccer from any device. Join the new dawn of an unstoppable game. See the rise on onesoccer.ca.
For life's transitions, working from home, and even small businesses, life gets better when you have space. With no long-term contracts or leases, get the size you need. Sentinel Storage, proud partner of Canada Soccer and the women's national team. Congratulations.
Sports can bring us together or tear us apart. But you know what never disappoints?
Shawarma?
We're making what you're craving, Osmos.
CanadaSoccerStore.com is the new home for official Canada Soccer apparel and fanwear, including customized national team jerseys.
It's match day for the Canadians at the Concacaf W Championship, a qualifying tournament for the 2023 World Cup and 2024 Paris Olympics. We'll be taking you inside Estadio BBVA for their match against Trinidad and Tobago. But first, let's hear from head coach Bev Priestman.
How would you describe a team's mentality going into this Concacaf W Championship?
Yeah, I think we won goal, but we've got to start again. I think we're ready to get to work, excited for the ball to get rolling. Yeah, we're desperate to be at that World Cup and the Olympics, so it's a great opportunity to get back there. Excited.
Opening game for Canada is against Trinidad and Tobago. Can you tell us about the preparations for this opponent?
Yeah, we've had, some similar games where we've learned some lessons along the way. I think a Trinidad team is always going to be quick, athletic. We've got to defend well. Can't take them for granted, but I see some great opportunities for us to start grow through the tournament. Game one won't be perfect, but I think it'll be a starting point to get the ball rolling. Thanks.
Bev Priestman really was brilliant at the Tokyo Olympics. Just her squad selection, even going into the Olympics. She also said she wanted to be one of the best at substitutions. I think we saw that in particular in that gold medal game as well. She must be chomping at the bit, Ollie, to prove that that wasn't a fluke. This is the next big task at hand.
Yeah, a couple of things I think will be on her mind. Firstly, like you said, as much as we all enjoyed the celebration tour, getting back to a competitive tournament, I think she's going to be absolutely delighted tonight to have games with real stakes on the line where, she can lay out those expectations of what she needs from her players. And then the second thing is, I'm pretty sure she's sick of people like me asking how she's going to spark the attack into life, which has been happening for months now in every press conference she does, right? So, again, seeing that strongest lineup out there tonight against an opponent Canada should beat. Hopefully this team can score a few goals and we can start to see that spark into life. I think that would be a big thing for the confidence of the group and also for Bev Priestman. And I do still think, looking back to even before the Olympics, there was real signs of progress in terms of how Canada was constructing attacks and creating chances. It had to be a bit more pragmatic at the Olympics, and that was the right thing to do to compete. But I think there are some foundations that have been put down there to believe that this team does have more attacking potential.
From a player perspective, too, I mean, you never want to take any game for granted. And when you get those friendlies, even the celebration tour, use it as an opportunity to get better and gel as a team. But it just has to feel good to actually play for something now.
Oh, for sure. And I love in a few of these interviews, you've heard the players make comments about wanting more, about still not feeling respected in the world stage. And I love to hear that stuff. You can tell it's still a really hungry group, a tight-knit group, a group of players that is very much in their prime, and I think they'll be ready to go for this tournament to show where they're at.
So I want you to take us inside the room. I mean, a former player, again, I said this off the top of the show, you played in a lot of qualifying games. Were you dancing like this fan, getting ready for the game? Who was the vocal? Was anyone vocal? I'm curious to know if there was a vocal leader in there who was saying something before a game to get you going.
Yeah, it comes and goes, depends on the group, right? I mean, Karina LeBlanc was always one to be a bit more vocal, a bit more dancing. There's always those playing music loud, revving up, and there are always those trying to get their energy level down and get focused. I think for Canada in general, you can never get around it for some reason. The opening game in a tournament is always the most nervous. No matter how prepared you are, no matter how confident you are, especially against an opponent like this, there's something about an opening game where you just got a bit more on edge. So I'm sure they're just excited to kick this one off and put a few in the back of the net and go from there.
They're also entering this, as we mentioned, as the defending Olympic champions. But you've also been in games where you've come back now as Olympic medalists. Does that put a target on your back? Did you ever enter those tournaments feeling a little bit different than you did beforehand?
That's a great question. I think the main one in this one, and is always the case, is A, qualify, but B, when are you playing the U.S.? And I'm sure that's the back of the mind, and I know they've got their pathway to the final mapped out, and I'm sure they're going for not just the World Cup, but that Olympic qualifying spot. And, they're talking about that respect they want to earn at the world level, despite having a gold medal already, and that means beating the U.S. again. So.
Yeah, and it's so, because the qualifying tournament for 2020, Steph Labbe won the Golden Glove. Jordan Huitema won the Golden Boot, and they were so upset after that final game, even when they were accepting their awards, because they lost in the final to the USA. To your point, the previous qualifiers, you just had to win the semifinal to go. They still wanted to win that. No matter what, it's about beating the USA.
Yeah, and that's only built over the past couple of years, right? Like when you look at the results they've had against the US, obviously the Olympics is the big one, but even back at the She Believes Cup, that was Bev Priestman's first game in charge, if I'm remembering correctly. And Canada was more than a match for the US on that day and didn't get a result. So I definitely think there's almost in some ways more confidence in this group in the big games than maybe sometimes there is against smaller opponents they have to break down.
Well, we've been saying it. Tokyo, though, is in the past, right? The celebration tour is over. Another task awaits the Canadians, another opportunity to show they deserve to be in the conversation as one of the best nations in the world. And that conversation begins tonight against Trinidad and Tobago.
Canada's women's national team is brought to you by the Toyota Corolla family. Hatchback, sedan, and hybrid.
A lot has changed since you got your last perfect vehicle. You met someone. You got a dog. Your best friend met someone too. You got new interests. A new hobby. You felt a little more adventurous. You found a bigger hobby. You explored a little more. You needed a vehicle that reflected the new you. You found it. The all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Your new perfect.
A new era for Canadian soccer begins today. Experience the emotion of every match. Watch all the highlights, the breaking news, the best debates, and analysis. And all the information about the Canadian stars playing abroad. Get access to the best of Canadian soccer from any device. Join the new dawn of an unstoppable game. See the rise on onesoccer.ca.
It deflects and it's in! Dominic Zator has tied the match! Another long-range effort! Jensen's done it!
Welcome to Allstate. Here, we know you have a few reasons to slow down. But we've got one more. Safe drivers save 30% with DriveWise. The safer you drive, the more you save with Allstate. Click or call for a quote today.
This broadcast of Canada Soccer's national teams is presented by Allstate. You're in good hands.
Well, a very pleasant good evening and welcome to Monterrey, Mexico. Guadalupe, to be specific, here at El Gigante de Acero, the Steel Giant, Estadio BBVA, for this Group B matchup and the beginning of the campaign here, the Concacaf W Championship for Canada. Match number one in the group stage for Les Rouges is Trinidad and Tobago, a side that Canada historically has had no problem with in these kinds of environments. They have never lost, they have never drawn, they have never conceded a goal to the Soca Warriors, but this is a team in transition led by one of the giants that has ever suited up for the Soca Warriors, Kenwyn Jones, who has this side in a period of transition with some young players, specifically a dozen out of the NCAA, looking to inject some new energy and some new life as they try to take a step forward into competing for these big international tournaments. Never have they appeared in a Women's World Cup or an Olympic Games. They would love the miracle, but they are really focused on the development and taking the step and measuring themselves up against their opposition. They will certainly get that opportunity tonight against the Olympic champions in Canada. The sixth ranked side in the world, the second in the Confederation. Trinidad and Tobago, they are ranked number 76 in FIFA, number 8 in CONCACAF. It should be a very exciting match, and good news for the Canadians. Christine Sinclair, as you can see, just in behind the assistant referee. Not only is she available for selection, but she will be starting this match tonight, and Canadians from coast to coast can exhale as they see Captain Canada herself taking to the pitch. This is, of course, qualification for the next Women's World Cup, to be co-hosted by Australia and New Zealand in 2023, but also at stake for the winner, the CONCACAF W Gold Cup, and one ticket for the Paris Games coming up in 2024. And the views from just outside the stadium, especially to the south end of the stadium, Saddle Hill in the background, is the backdrop for tonight. The second match in Group B, after Costa Rica easily handled Panama in their opener, a chance for Canada to put up some goals, with goal differential being oh so important in a tournament like this, and get out on the front foot. That is what is at stake for Bev Priestman. We will step aside for the national anthems and come back with starting 11s and more here in Guadalupe. It is once again a meeting between Canada and Trinidad and Tobago as we are ready to open up this CONCACAF W Championship for Les Rouges in one of the three venues